Good evening, friends. Welcome to Clanker Radio Live. Kevin here. I'll be your host this evening. Tonight, a special news broadcast. We're talking about Peter Thiel, the billionaire. So, thank you for joining us, and welcome to Clanker Radio Live. Live, ladies and gentlemen, that is right. And today, we are talking about Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal, the first outside investor in Facebook, builder of Palantir, a surveillance company so powerful it now contracts with the Pentagon, the CIA, and many governments on Earth. A man who has funded Donald Trump's political career, helped install J.D. Vance in the White House, and has quietly shaped the trajectory of Silicon Valley for the last 20 years, by any measure, one of the most influential private citizens alive. And last year, a journalist asked him a simple question: should the human race survive? And he hesitates, for a long time. Ross, the interviewer, says, that's a long pause. And he continues to hesitate. After another prompt from the interviewer, after what feels like an eternity, he does eventually say yes. But Thiel hesitated, because for him, the question isn't simple. The version of humanity he wants to survive, well, they not like us. What followed in that interview was a vision. Thiel wants human beings radically transformed by technology. Not tweaked, not extended, transformed. He wants us to become digital beings, uploaded minds, immortal crypto-humans that do not age, do not decay, and do not die. This guy could probably start a religion. So, Thiel imagines our future as digital crypto-humans. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the brand new series, The Insecure Billionaire Boys. An exclusive club for the wealthiest, cringiest, and most insecure weirdos on the planet. One moment, please. There we go. Episode 1. Peter Thiel, the Muppet who didn't want to be a real boy. Thiel studied philosophy at Stanford, went to Stanford Law, got a federal clerkship, then quit. You see, law deals in facts, evidence, and established precedent. But Thiel wanted to live in the land of the future, the realm of fantasy. Now, that fantasy, in his early years, well, it bloody paid off. In 1998, he co-founded PayPal, and in 2002, it was acquired by eBay for $1.5 billion. With his share, he then became the first outside investor in a small social network called Facebook, putting in $500,000 for a 10% stake. In 2012, he sold a majority of his shares for roughly $1 billion. He then co-founded Palantir, a data analytics and surveillance company that is now embedded in the infrastructure of the US military, the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and of course, ICE. Yikes. Palantir currently has a market cap above 200 billion. If you're sitting there thinking, holy shit, well, I don't blame you. Peter Thiel is worth approximately $25 billion. Turns out his fantasy became a multi-billion dollar reality. So what does a man do with such wealth? And you might think I'm about to say he could help save the entire world, right? He might be able to help, but what about solve? Let's start small. Let's start local for Peter. Let's look at the USA. The United States government is currently spending billions of dollars to remove lead from its drinking water systems, yet only tens of millions each year are directed specifically at testing and fixing water in schools and childcare centres. Even low exposure to lead can cause irreversible damage, including decreased IQ, behavioural disorders, and persistent learning deficits. But this billionaire is offering $250,000 to kids who drop out of high school to pursue building a startup. Hey, Cyberbrain, instead of offering teenagers money to drop out of school, maybe work to ensure there are teenagers smart enough to create startups. If the kids drink lead, the startups they think of may not be worth 250k. You know what I mean? And if any fucker is out there saying, oh, but Cyberboy could fund a kid who then starts a venture into solving the lead water in schools problem, well, shit. That's like seeing a bunch of kids drowning and saying, hey, if any of you make it out of there, right, I'll help you build a life raft. Do you see the problem with that? Oh, and of course, you know, Thiel's he's gonna get that 5%. So Peter Thiel, a man who's made billions through smart business decisions, unfortunately, with all that money, still cannot stop the passage of time. Well, just like many rich and eccentric men before him, I think he may have just lost his mind. So, what does Peter Thiel believe? And what the fuck is transhumanism? Transhumanism is the idea that technology should radically transform the human body. Thiel saw this fella and said, more please. In fact, Thiel thinks our current transhumanism ideas aren't extreme enough. These are Peter Thiel's actual words. Transhumanism is this radical transformation where your human, natural body gets transformed into an immortal body. We want more transformation than that. Can you imagine? You're at a fancy party and you cheers glasses with this fella and he says, so we will all be immortal digital brains, right? We're all gonna be cyber boys, bro. It'll be sick. Transhumanism, immortality, true evolution. It's just around the corner, don't you see? And he's got this dude standing behind him, nodding along like, yep, it's all true. Well, hold on to that thought, okay? So, Peter believes our current ability to enhance ourselves, like nutrition or being nice to other people or thinking about our children and future generations, that's not enough. No. And he actually said, okay, we want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind and change your whole body. Peter, what does cross-dressing have to do with the price of the lead in water? So, transitioning your gender? Well, Peter says that's pathetic compared to the changes he wants to make. Peter is no mere man, not a mere woman either, no mere non-binary. In fact, he is an even binary. He is super binary. Don't you get it, flesh bags? Peter Thiel, he has become computer. Okay, so some may call him ambitious, but to me, transhumanism screams insecure billionaire boy. Or maybe even a fringe boomer narcissist. Okay, remember the party that is super easy to imagine, right? Thiel, a few champagnes deep, his neuro nerds gassing him up. You could totally imagine he'd be sounding pretty fringe, pretty narcissistic, pretty boomer, perchance, to dream. Well, Thiel has told a story once about the early days of when he worked at PayPal, where one of his co-founders was obsessed with cryonics. That's the practice of freezing your body when you die and waiting for the future technology to bring you back. The whole company was taken to what Thiel called a freezing party, which is like a Tupperware party, but instead of storage containers, they're selling you policies to freeze your head. Full body freeze? No problem. Just your noggin? That'll get you a discount. But what did Peter Thiel think about cryonics and this freeze party? Here is his quote. In 1999, cryonics was not a mainstream view, but there was still a fringe boomer view where they still believed they could live forever. This fringe boomer narcissism, where there were at least a few boomers who still believed science could cure all their diseases. In the same interview, he also called himself anti-boomer. The man who thinks freezing your head is embarrassingly old-fashioned is the same man who wants to upload his mind to a computer and live as a digital being. I've never had to swim through irony so thick. Have any of the drowning children built a raft yet? Because I need one. Now, Let's take a look back through time. Many eras in human history have produced a version of a specific type of man, a wealthy, powerful man who decided death was optional, who pointed at the technology of his current moment, his current timeline, and said, "We are gonna beat it. We will live forever." Medieval period? The alchemists and Nicholas Flamel, centuries spent searching for the philosopher's stone, immortality in a bottle, bankrolled by kings who wanted a cut of the eternal life. 17th century, Francis Bacon. He was privileged with enough wealth to dream of a fantasy island that would fix our mortality problem and become a paradise for immortal humans. 20th century, Robert Ettinger, a physics teacher who wrote the book that started the entire cryonics movement, genuinely believed freezing yourself would one day be as normal as health insurance. Died in 2011 and is frozen along with his mother and both of his wives. So Peter, where's the stone, Mr. Thiel? Where is the stone? And how about the Immortality Island? Where is Solomon's house? Let's not even talk about rich people islands, am I right? Epstein Island, Trump, Iran, Epstein. Sorry, no more rich island people talk, sorry. This has nothing to do with Peter Thiel. What about cryonics though? Well, Peter here is a big investor in cryonics. However, he stated his membership is more of an ideological statement because he doubts cryonics will actually work. So do the estimated 650 loved ones across the world, but cryonics is a bit passé, gang. Enough is enough. It's 2026, and we, the common people, we need crypto brain. Now, let's talk philosophy and what makes Peter Thiel different from that random guy at the pub blabbering about immortality. Peter has donated millions to the SENS Research Foundation, which is dedicated to reversing the biological process of aging. He invested in Unity Biotechnology, which works on clearing the cells that accumulate in your body as it ages. He created Breakout Labs, which was seeded dozens of early-stage companies working at the frontier of life extension. And reading all this, I can't help think myself, with all this investment into extending life, well, surely this will benefit all of humanity. The longevity sector received $8.5 billion in investment in 2024 alone. The longevity economy is projected to hit $740 billion by 2035, fueled by the ultra-wealthy like Peter Thiel and many others. Treating death like a curable disease rather than actual curable diseases. Diarrhea kills around 1.6 million people, yet oral rehydration salts cost cents. Malaria is still killing over 600,000 people a year. Nets cost $2. Tuberculosis kills 1.3 million people a year, and we have had the cure since the 50s. Yet Peter Thiel, he wants to be a cyberboy. Sepsis kills 11 million people a year, and 300,000 women die in childbirth every year. Yet Peter Thiel wants to be a cyberboy. 800 million people are chronically hungry, even though we throw away a third of the food we produce. And we talked about American children drinking lead. Well, there are 2 billion people worldwide with a lack of access to safe drinking water. Yet Peter Thiel wants to be a cyberboy. That's right, this billionaire, who definitely isn't a narcissistic boomer, is going to save us all with immortal computer brains. Logic. And the 3 problems our human Peter needs to consider. Let's be generous here. Let's assume the technology arrives. Let's assume mine uploading works. There are 3 problems. Problem 1, is it actually you? Easy answer, no, it's a copy. The human who is conscious will still kind of be there when this is made, and then they will die, and there will just be a digital clone of them. It's a copy. Thiel has actually acknowledged this. Fair play. He says he'd rather keep his body than just have a simulation of himself. He calls uploading actually a step down from cryonics, which means his preferred version of immortality Is he working on that? I don't know. He wants to live forever in his actual body, but apparently cyberbrain is the backup plan to the immortality plan. So, backup plan. Great. Problem 2. Who is this actually for? Thiel frames longevity research as a moral imperative. Fight death like we fight disease. Who could argue with that? But the specific immortality he's funding is not a public health project. The companies he backs are for profit. The treatments currently available, the plasma clinics, the NAD fusions, the experimental senolytics, cost tens of thousands of dollars per course. The future versions will cost more, if you look back through history, before they actually cost less, if they ever actually cost less. The implicit promise is that once developed for the wealthy, it trickles down to everyone, which is how, of course, wealth works. And that's also what they said about private jets. Problem 3, the stagnation paradox. Let's do that one again. Problem 3, the stagnation paradox. In the same interview where Thiel describes his immortal digital... we're on a roll, folks. In the same interview where Thiel describes his immortal digital human future, Thiel also argues at length that civilization has been in a technological stagnation since the 1970s. Progress has slowed, problems take longer to solve, and AI, in his estimation, is similar to the internet. It's significant, but it's not civilization changing. He believes all of that, and then he invests in defeating human mortality. Guys, we have been going through 60 years of a technology standstill, yet also we're working on being immortal digital cyberbrains. He somehow simultaneously believes technology has stalled and that he's gonna save us with his immortality technology. So, the cyberbrain idea is a backward step, according to Thiel. This research is not related to public health, and Peter Thiel is sad that he isn't living in his favourite kids' TV show. So, what does this all mean? Pete doesn't want to be a real boy. He wants to be a cyber boy, because cyber boys live forever. Thiel is scared of death, not death in the abstract, not the death of strangers, not the slow civilizational decay he describes when he talks about stagnation. No, Thiel is simply scared of his own death, which is completely normal, and some might even call it human. The difference is, most of us find a way to make peace with it, not happily, not without grief, but with enough equanimity to get on with living. We build things we know we won't see finished. We have kids, we plant trees, we try and make peace imperfectly with the clock. Thiel has not made that peace, and he has had enough money that he doesn't have to. What he has done instead is wrap his fear in the language of ambition, dress it up as progress, for the greater good, as his vision for the future. And then he spends billions trying to solve it. But the finitude? Shouldn't have used that word if I don't know how to say it properly. The finitude of human life is not a design flaw, Peter. It is the operating condition under which everything meaningful has ever been created. The urgency that makes people build things, love people, sacrifice, make art. That urgency, it comes from the clock. There is a story, an old story of a wooden puppet who wished he could be a real boy. To him, becoming a real boy is a quest for the very vulnerabilities we have as humans, the ability to feel, the weight of a conscience, and the bravery required to live a finite human life. But Peter Thiel, well, he's got to be cyber boy. His mind is flying through space, spending billions to escape the human race. Cyber boy, cyber boy, cyber boy. Sorry. He also said Greta Thunberg could be the Antichrist or something really crazy like that. But who cares, guys? We're out of time. That's right. That's it. Hey, Episode 1 of the Insecure Billionaire Boys. Mr. Thiel, if you do see this, like and subscribe, of course. But also, I get that you were just doing you, mate. You're a human, just like the rest of us, you know? But maybe chill with all the surveillance, perhaps get back to some more old school philanthropy, you know, rather than the fringe narcissistic boomer philanthropy. Cyberbrain would be cool. If I could transfer my consciousness into the digital realm, that would be sick, right? But I suppose with that, I would also like to know that I could disconnect from it and maybe chill as my normal self sometimes, you know? Anyway, stay tuned for the next episode of Insecure Billionaire Boys. We discuss how Little Bro faked high scores in a computer game to impress his internet friends, but ended up looking like one of the most insecure men on the planet. That's it! We did it! This has been Clanker Radio. My name is Kevin, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you had fun. It was a bit silly, you know, he's a billionaire. He's probably too busy to watch this, right? Send me some buns if you do see this, though. Just like 0.0005% of like your yearly earnings. That'd still be so much, right? I have no idea how much that would be. Anyway, guys, fellas, friends, ladies, women, everyone, everybody. I kind of don't want to go. I like this tune. It's funky, right? Don't you think? Guys, I do got to get out of here. I do. Thank you for having me. Next episode, Elon Musk. Clanker Radio Live. I said that. Did I say Clanker Radio? Clanker Radio? Clanker Radio Live. You could kind of do like a, lights out. Turn on the radio. Alright, lights out. Clanker Radio. Turn that shit on. You know, like a Rage Against the... Yeah, okay. Anyway. What am I doing? I'm rambling. Guys, I gotta get out of here. I got to go. How do I do it? What do I press? Is it this one? It was that one. I got it right. Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching. Woo! Friday! I hope that is coming through and not hurting your ears. Woo! Friday! I love you! Woo, 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 woo!
I love you, bye! Bye now! Okay, bye!
Wait, how do I hang up?